our MAB webinar series. Today we are going to talk about the current landscape of sales and marketing in animal health, and also touch a little bit on our Ag Ec 735 class with Dr. Aleksan Shanoyan and also Mr. Paul Casaday. At this point, Dr. Shanoyan is going to share his screen.
Sarah, if you could stop sharing yours, then I can jump in with mine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. See. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to present our course. My name is Aleksan Shanoyan. I'm one of the co-instructors of this course. The course is titled Marketing and Sales in Animal Health Industry. The course was developed by let's see if this is changing. There you go. Okay. The course is developed about 3 years ago by me and Mr. Paul Casaday. We had a great fortune of having Mr. Paul Casaday to participate in this course development. He comes with decades of executive experience in animal health, and he was very generous with his time to develop this course. He was instrumental in developing the course and is a very strong advocate for creating specialized animal health education and training programs. What I will do is I'll let Paul provide an overview of current trends in animal health, because we wanted you to take away more from this webinar than just learning about the course. So that way you can gain some insights about what's going on currently in animal health, and that will also set the stage nicely for us to then come back and highlight the value of the course. After Paul's presentation, I will jump in and then provide the overview of the purpose of this course, who will benefit from this course, how the course is structured, what are some of the unique aspects of this course, and how to succeed in this course. What will it take to take this course and do well in this course? Okay, with that, I'll stop sharing and we'll yield the floor to Paul.
Thanks, Alex. It's a great pleasure to be here today, and I'd like to welcome everybody who's joined this webinar to talk about what I think is a very exciting course and an opportunity. If I could ask Sarah to put up slide 6, we're gonna do this as a team. I've got some IT issues going on here at the house, but I wanted to first talk about the current market trends that are going on in the animal health. So you see on this slide a couple happy guys with a Frisbee. You can see that there was no masking requirements for dogs during the COVID outbreak. So they're happy, they're frolicking in the ocean, they're able to do some fun stuff. More importantly, it's kind of a picture of what happened with our industry through this very challenging times. I know many people were affected in many ways. Some of you personally, like me, had COVID, or you had loved ones, maybe lost people that you know. It's a horrible disease, but it's interesting from an animal health perspective, because we've actually been fighting coronaviruses in animal health for over 40 years, and actually dogs get it's a different strain of coronavirus, clearly, but basically all the species do. And the role that animal health played in bringing products and technology to help fight this disease is quite fascinating, and not for today's discussion, but at a later date, it'd be interesting to share some of that with you. So I'm part of a consulting group called Brakke, which is a leading animal health consultancy. We only do animal health and very focused in that area. As Alex mentioned, I had about a 35-year career in animal health, senior roles with both Merck Animal Health and then Mariel, which is now Sanofi. And very happy to share this program because it's something near and dear to my heart. Next slide, please, Sarah. So what's good about the story of animal health? It was a very robust spending period for pets. So think about what's happened during the pandemic. So as everybody stayed home and spent a lot of time with their pets, not only their children and their loved ones, but also pets, they got a lot of attention. And this attention was very positive for our industry because all of a sudden dogs, not so much cats, but dogs were getting walked every day, maybe several times a day. And with that came some health issues like osteoarthritis. So pain medications and things like that got used. Other things, pets actually got taken care of. So a lot of them that hadn't been to a vet clinic in a long time got to go to a vet clinic. So a lot of action took place, a lot of positive action for our industry. So this home buddy economy, strong home working environment was a very positive impact for our pets. And the more pets at home, there was a lot of adoptions. The pets came out of the shelters and Humane Society like we've never seen. Many of them ran out of pets to be able to offer. So again, a lot of people who didn't have pets went out and got pets because they were at home and they wanted some additional company, or they had children and they wanted to bring them some friendship and companionship. So very, very strong demand for pets themselves. And then spending in the industry, both spending at the veterinary clinic, but also the downstream spending that affected pharmaceutical companies was also very robust. So people, as I said before, they were treating their vets, they were taking care of them, which increases compliance, it increases dispensing of medicines and bringing vaccinations up to speed. So purchasing behaviors, but they changed. And this is something interesting that we in the industry are looking at now, whereas traditionally everybody went into the vet clinic to buy their drugs, or a lot of people did. Going online, and maybe many of you use Chewy and Pet Express and some of these other facilities, a lot of product was sold via the internet and delivered directly to the home. And it'll be interesting to see how that trend continues with our industry going forward. Next slide, Sarah. So we looked at this COVID event as a catalyst to accelerate change for our industry. Now, imagine this, that COVID in all of its horrific forms actually was a catalyst of change and a catalyst of growth for the animal health industry in total. It sped up omni-channel strategies, meaning what I just discussed. We were looking at different ways to get product to our customers. This affected companies and affected veterinarians and how they enacted sales strategies, how do they work with diversification. Remote work was a prerequisite before, now mainstream, permanent. Now we think about remote work, we think about the pet owner, but we also think about remote work from the commercialization of products by sales forces, for example. The traditional face-to-face sales call disappeared, and we had to do via telesales, telemarketing. A lot of Zoom airways and Skype and other tools were used to have the communication between the pharmaceutical companies and the veterinary clinic, which was, again, a new thing for us. Consolidation of veterinary hospital was very active. A lot of veterinarians took the opportunity because for the maybe some of them for the first time in many years, they've had very attractive P&Ls or profit and loss statements. So their businesses, their practices became very attractive. And private equity, was looking very aggressively into veterinary hospitals and veterinary clinics. And there was a lot of purchasing going on across the country and consolidation into these national vet clinic associations like Banfield or NVA and so on and so forth. But not everything accelerated. The concept of veterinary telemedicine didn't really change. I don't know how many of you did the human version of this. I did it. It's pretty easy when the patient's talking back via video, but the challenge is for a pet owner, they don't do too well talking. So that wasn't very successful. So we see a rapid return once the pandemic, and it's now basically over endemic status, a return to the normal in-face vet clinic visits by pet owners. Next slide, please. So some of the headwinds that we're looking at for our industry going forward, this hit us in 2021, but also really coming to play right now is inflation. And I'm sure, like some of you, maybe many of you on the call today, have never really experienced high inflation. I'm old enough to know what it was like when I graduated from university back in the late 70s and came out into the workforce in early 80. We were facing double-digit inflation. And this can be pretty tough on the environment, the economic health of the country, on you as an individual. And now we are seeing this, and it's affecting the veterinary side of things. It's affecting pharmaceutical companies because we're having to pay higher wages, which make many of you on this call maybe make you happy, but unfortunately, some of those wage increases are getting eaten up by the higher costs. It also affects the cost of goods on providing products. So this means that supply chain and ability to provide product, the COGS, the cost of goods sold, will go up because of the increased cost of input, transport, distribution costs. All these things are going up dramatically. A lot of our business, especially in some of the export business, we utilize air freight, for example, or shipping to move a product around the world. And the cost of doing that has gone up astronomically. And of course, companies will have to pass on some of those costs to the end user as we go through the supply chain. Real measures of growth, interest rate and hikes are on the way. So the cost of capital is going to go up, and that's going to affect investments. It could affect the cost of inventory carrying. It could hit you in every part of your business. It's really it's a different sort of virus than COVID. It's an economic virus that can really be damaging to the overall business. And it's not only affecting companies, pharmaceutical companies, but it also affects veterinary practices. And their veterinarians are going to have to pay more for their employees, more for their wages. Their cost of goods will go up for their products that they sell. And obviously things like your general administration costs, like cost of providing electricity and lighting and all these things to run their clinics, will go up. I think it's going to have a big impact, or we see it having a big impact on practice. So all those visits, those healthcare visits, those costs of veterinary consultations, we expect to go up and go up significantly in this year and into 2023. Next slide, please. Now, we've talked a lot about pets, but let's talk a bit about the livestock business. So a lot of chaos occurred in the livestock business as a result of the pandemic. The first thing we saw, of course, was huge processing plants that got shut down due to COVID outbreaks in their employees. So big beef slaughtering and pig slaughtering facilities in the US, but also around the world, had to put together quarantines or shut down their facilities, or actually limited the amount of employees that were working there. This has a huge impact on supply of protein. So the markets responded, of course, that all of a sudden prices started going up dramatically for red meat and pork and poultry and all these protein sources. While the farm gate prices didn't change much, it certainly changed at the packer level and into the grocery store. So it's a unique phenomena that we have to always deal with in livestock, because the supply chain coming into the processing side is a live supply chain. You can't stop a cow from producing milk. You can't stop a cow in the feed yard from growing. You can't slow down a chicken. It takes 6.5, 7 weeks from the time they go into a broiler facility to the time they're harvested for chicken. You can't stop all that stuff. So wait a minute, we've got some issues. It keeps coming. So there's a lot of product then was sold at a lower price by the farmers and the producers of that. Although unfortunately, the product you saw in the store didn't see all that stuff. So costs actually went up, not only because of the supply issues, but again, these other issues like labor and stuff. Now, the other thing we saw, which was interesting, is that the traditional hotel and restaurant and institutional market for products. So that's a big source of sales for big red meats and poultry and pork. Again, that consumption all moved into the household. Why? Because of course we couldn't go to a restaurant. Restaurants were closed. Hotel travel was gone. So all of a sudden, all this product disappeared. Sorry, it didn't disappear, but it moved out of these higher value institutional sales into the retail grocery store. And I don't know about you, but I was able to buy some really nice T-bones and pork chops at remarkably lower price than usual for some of these nice cuts of red meat, especially. Now that's been pretty well cleaned up. The supply chain's back, and as restaurants have all reopened in most parts of the country, that's changed a lot of it. Now, the next thing in front of us, of course, is the grain costs, because grain costs are going through the roof because of primarily the Ukrainian situation. But prior to that, the cost of inputs are already going up significantly. So you're going to see record corn prices and wheat prices and soybean prices, which again will affect cost of goods. Now, for pharmaceutical industry and veterinary clinics, that dynamic, it's been a bit all over the place. If I look globally, there are pluses and minuses all across the world in the livestock business, but in whole, it ended up around zero net effect. So there were the positives and the negatives. Where in the pet business, it was all positive. Here in the livestock business, it was a positive, negative. So if I split out the livestock business in total, it was more or less zero. The other thing we have to worry about in livestock is the constant threat from these transboundary and emerging diseases, which COVID-19 on the human side is a version of this. So we see still the threat from especially African swine fever in the swine population. Now you're hearing stories of high pathogenic avian influenza spreading across the world. This is caused a lot of the time by actually wild birds, especially waterfowl, migrating up and down the migratory channels in these countries, spreading the virus. In part of it's in the controlled production of the intensive livestock, but high pathogenic avian influenza is a big threat right now for poultry. So a lot of chaos still going on, a lot of challenges in livestock that we have to face. So something that it's not as smooth a picture we saw in pets. Next slide, please. So now let's look at some of the industry numbers. Next slide. So look at this slide for a second and think about yourself. Many of you in this call are thinking about or already in a career in animal health, and you've talked to your friends and everybody else who have gone through this pandemic. Look at this number for the global animal health pharmaceutical market growth last year, 12.5%. It's the highest number I've ever seen probably in my entire career. So a lot of growth going on. I mean, 12.5% when a time when a lot of the world's going the other direction. is an amazing feat, but it also points to the importance of animal health in the relationship in the human-animal bond. So companion animal growth was extremely strong, as I said. Livestock growth, a little bit slower than companion animal for a lot of different metrics, different reasons. But the animal health industry is expanding nutritional diagnostics, precision, and production. So one of the big things that we're seeing also in the traditional pharma bio is the inclusion of the diagnostic business and also the digital impact. So big trends there, one around diagnostics, where traditionally, especially in pets, diagnostics were used as confirmatory of diagnosis. And we're seeing a big trend across the mature markets of the world where they move from the use of diagnostics from this confirmatory activity to the actual wellness activity. So many of you who take regular physicals for your own health go in, and it's routine to give you a blood panel for example. This has not been routine in the vet pet world. Now we're starting to see that more and more. The other area is digital, where we're using all sorts of digital devices to monitor disease status, to monitor activity status, to provide biofeedback metrics on pets, but also in livestock. So we're using more and more of this, and this activity is showing up also as revenue driving the market going forward. So a lot of positive things going on. Next slide, please. So looking over the last 10 years, our industry has a constant annual growth rate, compounded annual growth rate of 5.2%. Apologies for constant, it's compounded annual growth rate. So that means you take all those numbers, plus or minuses over the years, we're going on an average of 5.2%. A lot of people, and especially older people like myself, we talk about the fact that this industry is what we think about as an evergreen business. It means it's always growing. There may be regions that go up and down, like China went negative due to ASF a couple of years ago, but overall the positive trend is always there. And look at what happened in the middle of a pandemic. Both 20 was solid 5% growth, and 21 it grew 12.5%. So an excellent industry with strong underpinning growth drivers. Next slide, please. There's about 11 companies that really kind of drive the market in the pharma bio animal health world. And you can see there the sales, the reported sales, the growth year on year. Zoetis is the world's largest animal health company. They're approaching 7.7 billion. It's a huge number. I long time ago, I couldn't even fathom that. You look at the next three, Merck, Boehringer Ingelheim, and Elanco, all around 5 billion in sales, and then a big drop off to IDEX, Siva, and Bierbach, and some of the other mid-sized companies. So a lot of concentration. I think almost 60% of the market is concentrated in the top four now. Is that good? Is that bad? Another day, another discussion. Maybe in our class we can talk about that. Have a nice, robust debate about that. But you see a lot of the concentration, and this is something that not only the animal health industry has faced, but every other industry for that matter. Next slide, please. Again, looking at it by a pie chart, the share, as I said, Zoetis is huge. It's growing almost 20% share. Merck, Boehringer Ingelheim, Elanco, IDEX with different shares. Then you have what I used to call the Frenchies. You have Vitaquinol, Bierbach, and Siva. These are all French-based pharmaceutical companies. Dechra is a UK-based pharmaceutical company. Huvaypharma is a Romanian or Bulgarian, forget which it is. Fibro is primarily feed additives. Again, 2/3 of the industry, 2/3 of the sales are in the top 5 companies. So it's a big concentration going on there. Next slide, please. And this is the famous bubble chart. I think this is a BCG, Boston Consulting Group standard. So here you see big bubbles, little bubbles, and very little bubbles. The blue line is the main growth rate. So you want to be above the blue line, and you want to be to the right side, which is above growth rates and growing share. So you can see the big guys, again, Zoetis, big, growing nicely above the market. It's really driving the market right now. And that's primarily due to innovation, coming with biological therapeutic agents. Merck, very active. They acquired Allflex, which brought them into the digital forefront. A big move there. Various companies, again, IDEX is a very strong performer. It's a diagnostic company. They only do diagnostics and have really pushed this wellness diagnostic effort that we talk about. And then you have all these other smaller companies with various different performances due to primarily portfolio regionalities where they operate in. Phibro and Hubei Pharma are primarily livestock companies. And remember, we talked about the fact that livestock was pretty tough over the last couple of years, whereas the other companies, Vitaquinol, Decra, Virbach, are more small animal companies, so they benefited from the small animal growth. So again, I think you look at the total slide, it's a picture of a very robust industry with a lot of growth going on. Next slide. And I think that brings us to the end of my part of the presentation. So just some closing comments. Again, very strong robustness of the overall industry, even in the face of pandemic. Pet care spending continues to go up. People got to eat, so animal proteins are always a key driver of growth. Those are the two underpinning drivers of the animal health market. Vet practices were very, very active. It'll be interesting to see what the impacts of the omni-channel, the changes of distribution activity goes on in the future. Inflation, the other economic things will affect the industry like everything else, but with such a strong platform, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I know for a fact we also did a couple of panels recently at both at the North American Veterinary Conference, which it's now called the VMX down in Orlando, and the Western States Veterinary Conference in Las Vegas. We had some of the senior executives from some of these companies in a panel discussion at both of those events. And one of the strong things they talk about is talent, and attracting, retaining, developing employees is front and foremost for all these companies. When you have such a dynamic market and dynamic growth, you always need good people to manage that growth and to help your company achieve those opportunities. So I think it's a good time for many of you to consider the program and developing your career. And with that, I'll stop and turn it back to Sarah and Alex.
Thank you, Paul. Let me share my screen. Paul, thank you very much for that excellent overview of the current issues and the potential in animal health industry. Now let me just come back and talk a little bit about what is the purpose of this course, who will benefit from this course, how the course is structured, what are the unique aspects of the course, and then how to succeed in this course, or what are the strategies for effective learning in this course. What motivated us in developing this course is the observation that on one hand, the global animal health industry is growing fast and becoming more and more important, as Paul pointed out in his presentation. You saw the numbers. And on the other hand, there is a shortage of qualified people to help lead the growth into the future. There is practically no specialized education program designed to meet the growing needs of the animal health industry, and we think this can be an excellent opportunity for institution like K-State and a program like MAB. So from our discussions with industry stakeholders, we learned about the main types of educational background people in animal health industry are currently coming from. There are people with business and economic training coming from MBA and econ programs. There are people with veterinary training from vet programs, and there are those with science background coming from animal sciences and pharmaceutical science program. However, there's a growing need for animal health professionals who have a combination of business skills and an understanding of the unique aspects of complex world of animal health industry. Despite of this growing need, there's practically no educational programs tailored specifically for the needs of animal health industry. And the KSU Animal Health Management Certificate Program and this course specifically are designed to fill that gap. So therefore, the purpose of this course is to introduce students to marketing and sales concepts and frameworks in the complex world of animal health industry. So who are the people who will benefit most from this course? There are three groups of people who will benefit most, who will take away most out of this course. The first group includes animal health professionals and veterinary and science professionals who would like to gain marketing knowledge and skills. So they have a good animal health, veterinary, and science background, but they don't have sufficient marketing and sales skills, so they can benefit taking this course. The second group includes business professionals who come in with an MBA and economics business training, but would like to gain understanding of unique aspects of marketing and sales in animal health context. And the third group includes early and mid-career professionals who would like to position themselves for taking advantage of exciting opportunities in this fast-growing animal health industry. So let me tell you a little bit about the structure of this course. There are three core aspects to this course. It's the content, the context, and practical application. The content includes marketing and sales concepts. The context includes the insights on the unique aspects of animal health industry. And the practical application includes hands-on learning activities with the emphasis on learning by doing. For the content on marketing and sales concepts and frameworks, we draw knowledge from marketing management textbook by Kotler and Keller. This is an industry standard accepted by most of the MBA courses, MBA programs. We take that textbook and we synthesize the content in video lectures and PowerPoint slides that are organized in weekly marketing modules. For the insights on practical application and decision-making in animal health context, we draw knowledge from hours of interviews we have conducted with practicing senior executives in animal health industry. The interviews are organized in a series of subject matter expert videos, and we also use a number of Harvard Business style case studies and articles related to the application of marketing and sales concepts in the context of animal health industry. Here's a list of major marketing and sales concepts covered in each weekly module of this course. And this is really what students need to know to be able to conduct marketing research and formulate marketing strategies. So we start by introducing marketing concepts and strategies and plans, then walk through some key marketing concepts like conducting marketing intelligence, doing marketing research, connecting with customers, market segmentations, positioning, developing product and pricing strategies, and we end with key account management and developing go-to-market strategy, very important sales concepts. Here are the profiles of senior executives in animal health industry who were very generous with their time and efforts in sharing their valuable insights as subject matter experts for this course. You might recognize some of the names of the companies from the slide that Paul just presented. Those are executives, top-level executives from top 5, 10 companies in animal health industries. And of course, we were fortunate to get access to their wisdom through Paul's connections and contacts in industry. And as you might realize, that this is a fast-moving industry, so many of these subject matter experts probably moved on to higher positions or different companies. So the next logical question that you might ask is, how's the learning assessed in this course? The knowledge of marketing and sales concepts is assessed using weekly concept quizzes related to the material covered in lecture videos and book chapters. And there's also one concept exam at the end of the course. Students' understanding of animal health industry context will be assessed using weekly short answer homework assignments related to the material covered in subject matter expert videos and case studies. And then the student's ability to apply marketing and sales concept to conduct marketing analysis and formulate marketing plans in real world situations will be assessed using weekly project assignments, which will culminate in a project presentation and the written report. And based on previous offerings of the course, students' feedback on the project was particularly positive, as most of them used the course to tackle actual marketing problems or ideas that were facing in their companies. Okay, and here's how the learning process will look like in this course. There are 7 weekly modules posted on Canvas, each of which includes roughly about 6 or so lecture videos, average 8 to 10 minutes long each, assigned readings for the week, subject matter expert video for the week, about 15-30 minutes long, weekly quiz related to material covered in lecture videos, weekly short answer homework related to material covered in subject matter expert video, and then weekly project assignment to get you going on that project from week 1, so we don't wait until last moment and you have to complete this large, overwhelming project. And that really completes the overview of the course. So really, to summarize, as you have seen from Paul's presentation, this is a very dynamic, fast-growing industry with lots of opportunities. And there is really a shortage of talent, appropriately trained talent to help manage that growth into the future. And what we did at MAB program here, we designed this course and then the certificate program to help train people to help take advantage of the exciting opportunities in animal health industry. So with that, we thank for your attention and welcome your questions. Let me stop sharing my screen. I guess there are 2 ways you can ask your questions. You can either unmute your microphone and just voice your question, or you can use the chat box to type your question, whatever works best for you.
Hi, this is Vicki Selzer from the Kansas City area. I work for a very small animal health company. I was wondering, are you looking at the possibility of offering this as more of a training course at some point in time down the road, as opposed to actual college credit course? I think it might open it up to people that aren't in a position to go back to college.
that's an excellent point. Maybe I should let Deborah answer that. But from my end, I can say thank you, Vicky, for the question. And that's in our plans. And we want to be more demand driven. So as we develop the course, we also would like to package the material, the content in short, more of a training format, and offer it to people who might be interested to take it in that format.
Yes, I think that's a good way to frame that, Dr. Shanoyan. And thanks for the question, Vicki. I think this course as a standalone is definitely a step in that direction. And then we also have our certificate, which is not a full program of study, could be leveraged that way. And then we are in discussions about micro-credentialing. In fact, several of us just came from a micro-credentialing webinar just a few moments ago, thinking through what could that look like as a next step, both for our program and for K-State. So definitely I'm going to wrangle you back in for some questions and some consumer research later to figure out what you think would be the best fit there.
Okay, great. I'm a veterinarian. I graduated from K-State, and I've been to a lot of your courses. They're very helpful. I love them. I had looked into the MAB program, but at this stage of my career, it's probably not a wise move, but I'd be happy to help out in whatever way I can. Another question too, maybe this is more for Paul, this growth in the animal health industry, do you see this continuing for the next few years? I know you don't have a crystal ball, so that's my first question. And have you seen this growth? I understand in the ag chem industry too, that industry has seen a lot of growth too. I was wondering if you could comment on that and the reasons why.
Thank you for the question. I'll probably answer the latter, then go back to the first one. So the latter, I don't follow ag chem, so I can't comment. So I can't help you with that. You hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just checking, making sure my sound was there. So as far as the animal health industry, now I should give you the standard disclaimer, nothing that I've offered, you should buy or sell your securities based on any advice. I'm just kidding a little bit. So
Of course.
So what I see in that slide that I showed, which is the 10-year CAGR, shows an industry that has constant returns, constant growth. And there's two fundamental underpinnings of our industry which drive that growth. One is pet spend. So you'll see it. You see it every day where people, in my lifetime in this industry, I tell people the dogs, for example, they went from and cats for that, they went from the barnyard to the backyard to the bedroom. And there's a linear relationship between that movement over the last 30, 40 years and the amount of money spent on pets. And so that's not going away. And that's in the mature markets, and in the emerging markets like Brazil or Asia, China, for example, as the middle income economy develops in these countries, people have more disposable income. That's also a huge driver of pet spend in total. So those two things. And the other big driver, of course, is people got to eat. So the demand for protein, the world population is going from, I think we're just short of 7 billion now to 9 billion, depends on what numbers you follow. Most of those people want to transition or supplement a vegetable protein diet with an animal protein diet. So those are the big drivers underneath animal health. Second thing about animal health is it responds to innovation. And a good example is what's happened over the last 3 years, the use of biological therapeutic agents, monoclonal antibodies, for example, to treat traditional pet ailments that are somewhat untreatable but are just barely in control, like atopic dermatitis or chronic osteoarthritis. These biological therapeutic agents work, and they work quite well, and the market is responding to that. So innovation gets picked up. People got to eat. People like to spend money on pets. So I see a lot of positives going forward. Now, the industry and which company gets that is always the trick of the game. But I think overall, if I was looking at a career choice right now over the next 10 to 15 years or longer, this is a solid bet, in my opinion. I'll stop there. And thanks for the question.
Sure, and I'm sure you're drawing on both vet schools on either side of the state line, recruiting those types of students too. I graduated a long time ago, way back in '85, and we didn't have any business courses. I don't know if they're doing a better job of that now. I would hope so. I know some schools are, but yeah, I would think that would be an area that you could certainly tap into the talents there to groom these kids coming out of vet school for this type of thing.
Well, I think it's a great point. It's something that in my 35 years in the animal health industry, I've watched, and there's always been a lot of discussion about teaching veterinarians how to do business. Because the minute you leave the school, if you go into private practice, you're running a business or you're participating in a business.
Exactly.
And the fundamentals are not really taught because you're too busy learning many other things. And that's why I think the course program that we've developed here can be very helpful. And I think and I know Deborah and Alex are very keen on this, to work closer with the veterinary school, is to actually incorporate some of the curriculum that we're developing into potentially the vet school form. And coming out of school today, you want to write a paycheck that's pretty attractive, get your DVM and this MAB with the animal health. There'll be a number of those companies that'd be very happy to come talk to you. I know that. So
Good deal.
I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions at this time? If not, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Apologies, folks. I can not see right now. Well, I will just move forward off the cuff. Please schedule an advising appointment if you're interested in the AgX 735 class that was discussed today, or in our program as a whole. Both cohorts, the animal health cohort that starts in August out of our Olathe campus, or our heritage cohort that is out of our Manhattan campus that begins in January. Feel free to reach out to myself or schedule an advising appointment with Deborah Cole, our managing director. If you get on our website, you will see the link, mab.ksu.edu. You can click on that link and schedule an advising appointment with Deborah. We always like to visit with our prospective students, as well as our alumni and folks that mentor prospective students. We have two webinars scheduled for May. Our first is May 10th. It's an informational webinar for prospective students from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Central. This is hosted by Deborah, again, our managing director. It is a live webinar where Deborah will discuss the program and also take questions. So we encourage students and prospective students to log on so that they can ask live questions to Deborah in that forum. Our second webinar for May is our Ag Stress, webinar with Meg Moynihan from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Central. Meg Moynihan works specifically in Ag Stress with the state of Minnesota's Department of Agriculture, and she focuses on on stress in the agricultural community. She will be talking specifically about those stresses that affect folks in the animal health industry, as that stress piece tends to play a huge role for veterinarians and folks in the animal health industry, as well as in the broader ag business sector. And lastly, we encourage you to get on social media and reach out to us. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out in whatever way suits you best. We thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Paul and Dr. Shanoyan, for presenting today. We thank you. It was our pleasure to host you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.